Hello, I'm back. Good. Oh, a little bit of intro music, not a bad idea.
Let me tune up then.
Yeah, for tuning up. Okay, so just to introduce you guys, right? You're Cass and Richard from Shungite.com.
That's
And
right.
yeah, well, I started getting into Shungite and stuff. I'm looking for some around. Usually I've got some around. About 4 years ago, my sister got me into it through a Magenta Pixie, and then I found out that you introduced it to her, and then
no, that wasn't us.
okay, well,
no, it was someone very kindly sending our products to Magenta Pixie.
okay,
So we didn't know about it.
yeah.
So we had all these orders came through, and we someone then let us know it was them.
Yeah, so I was down. Well, we were down. There was a group of us from Down to Earth Farm in Stockton came down to Doncaster to the what's it called, Mother Fungus,
Yes.
and you were giving a talk on Shungite, but a lot more than that. Richard had we had a lot of interesting discussions on the evenings and throughout the day and everything, and I really wanted to share what your story with my friends and everything. So there's the story about the Shungite, which is way more than I actually knew or understood. Let's go into that a little bit later. But you know what? I think the real story that I really wanted to home in on, like first, Richard, was your experience of standing as a living man in a court, and the effect you had on the judiciary and everything. It was such a powerful thing, and I think it's something I really need a lot of my friends to know, because I've got friends who are facing cases in court at the moment, and they've been along, and I said, "Oh, well, did you say you were a living man?" And they said, "Well, I thought about it, but no, I'm not." They're a bit afraid, because they think, "Oh, it'll come back on them bad and everything." But we've been having regular speakers every week at the Porcupine Pub, and a lot of them are. I think the last one we had was Peter Wilson, who was talking on going private, and I'm a big follower of his, and I'm reading all of this kind of stuff. Living in the private, and it's so empowering about being a living man, living a woman. And so, Richard, I wondered if you could share with my friends your experience of what happened to you in the court. But before that, I just wondered if you should give me a little background about yourselves. Anyway,
background about yourselves. People say, where were you born? So it's really, where are you from? That's a difficult one to answer. Where are you from? I go, well, that's tricky, because I could say Sheffield, but then I'd say, well, I was somewhere else before that, before I was born. So it's tricky. I was on the anaesthetic side. So after a long time, I realized that the reason why that was my job is because if you come to an operating theatre, you're probably bricking yourself. It's like a strange environment. And that was the one that you were going to see when you walked in. So to take people from, oh my God, shit, they're going to come. Oh, he's all right. And yeah, it's fine. This is all right. This is going to be fine. And then they drop off to sleep kind of thing. And that's why I've ended up playing guitar in the end, because I do the same thing with that. It's about just calming everybody down. When the trainees used to come through in the operating theatre, they have this book. And I always used to say to them, right, what you need on front of your book is don't panic. Because that's the main thing, everybody just panics about stuff and you lose your head. But I just taught them how to get through an operating list rather than teaching them anything else, which they liked more than stuff. How to get through a normal list. But anyway, so I did that for a few years, and then I got disillusioned with the first time the swine flu came around. That was probably 2008 or something.
Yeah.
And I kind of I was doing a week of nights and researching loads of stuff, and I found a whistleblower from the WHO, loads of information. So I got all that together, and on a night, I sent it to about 20,000 people in the internal mail at the hospital, because I just couldn't do it anymore. I'd seen how crazy it was. You know, there was a lady on I worked in obstetrics. There was a lady on labour yard. She'd been there all day. And then they brought her to theatre. Oh, crash section, craziness. Oh, she's got swine flu, craziness. And then everybody dressed up like in them, have you seen E.T. when they put all them stupid gowns on?
Hazmat suits.
Yeah, the hazmat suits. They're putting all that kind of stuff on. She's been on labour yard all day. So why we're just crazy. The craziness of it. I just can't be doing it anymore. Excuse me. But I think you might have froze again.
Can you hear that?
Yeah,
Yes.
yes.
All right, thank goodness for that. Okay, right. Okay, that's great then. Okay, so fingers crossed we can carry on. Okay, so Cassie, can you tell me a bit about yourself? What's your awakening then?
So actually, I come from kind of hippie parents. So grew up a bit of a conspiracy theorist already. So
One of them.
yeah, well, I am from an early age. So things about like Mark of the Beast I knew about in my late teens, and now I'm 45. So it's been a long wait, and now it's here. So I've never gone down the traditional route of houses and jobs. I've always been creative and artistic, and I got into working with the university at Sheffield, doing all sorts of things. I don't have a degree, so I wing it very well. And what I discovered was they weren't interested in curing anybody. And I mean, hey, we kind of know that now, but back 10 years ago, that was quite a kind of, Anyway, I didn't want to work there anymore, so I had a word with God, and I said, put me to use, put my creativity to use. I cleared my studio in Sheffield. I just packed everything away, and I said, whatever you send my way, I will work with. And then I found Shungite. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just I suppose you don't know much about me really. A similar thing with myself. I went through. I couldn't really fit in doing any jobs working. The longest I ever worked anywhere was a year. Although I was in the Territorial Army for 4 years. I eventually I got caught up in this religious group called the Brahma Kumaris. We used to wear all white, and we used to meditate and not watch TV, cut ourselves off from the world. I had a very strange, different belief system, but I took it as far as I could, and I'm a better person. It's part of my journey. I got married about 15 years ago. My wife's Malaysian Indian. You might see her walking past in the background. And we got our own business doing school playgrounds. Like, you get like rubber mulch and
Yeah.
so that's our job. And I try to take on as little work as possible. It comes to me, I don't go looking for it anymore. I've got so many other things I want to be doing now. And I feel there's so many. I'm part of this community farm. It's a bit like Mother Fungus. Right. And, it's a strange journey that we're on now, sort of really strange serendipitous things kind of happen, right? Now, at the weekend, I was supposed to have gone down to the Carry On Camping Festival, and I was looking forward to meeting my friends there. But you know what? I drove to the wrong place. I went to the wrong site. I went to the Lake District.
Oh, nice.
So I thought, I did a bit of walking. I went swimming, and I came back. And then on Saturday, I had the notion to go walking on the Cleveland Hills, and there's this spot there's somewhere called Rosebery Topping. It's a beautiful view from there. And there's this other place called the Wainstones, where you can get a really nice view of like Teesside. And I was sat there on the Wainstones, and I knew there were other couple nearby, and I just sort of like I blanked them really. And then they came, "Oh, are you Chris?" I said, "Yes, Steve and Suzanne." These were the people who were the founders of Rebels on Roundabouts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I met them at Carry On Camping every time I go there, and they're good friends of mine. And of all places, I bumped into them there. And they said, "Oh, we've never been here before." Their friends bought them this holiday in this chalet with a hot tub.
That's it. It's gone again.
Well, we managed all of about 4 minutes.
Yeah.
If we're lucky.
Gone.
Record only, edit. Yeah, okay, I'm back here. Yes, it's recording. Yeah, I can't guarantee that's not going to happen again. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, fingers crossed.
Yeah. We have got a big solar storm hitting us today.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Direct hit to Earth today.
Ah. Yeah.
So that might be it.
Will my Shungite protect me?
So Shungite's
will Shungite protect me?
Will it protect you? Well, the thing about Shungite is it's the potential in it. It's about spinning the energy back in line with nature. So where you'll get the glitches, this is where the Shungite smooths those glitches, so everything's back working smoothly with nature. So yeah.
So if it's a big solar storm, we need to ground then, don't we?
Yes. Yeah.
Because we'll be picking up quite a charge.
Yeah.
And we're not very good. We're not very good at grounding, are we?
I try my best. You know, I've got that.
Hey, well done. But generally, as a race, we're not very good at grounding. So,
not since we started wearing shoes and boots and things.
Rubber shoes, rubber
shoes.
Yeah, it's a massive. As soon as we started the synthetic rubber shoes, massive increase in what's the word?
Inflammation.
Inflammation.
Yeah, so that's inflammation of everything. So it could be joints, heart, whatever, anything.
Yeah, it's to do with the ions, is it? The free radicals that have got nowhere to go, and they inflame, and then we earth ourselves, and it cleans them all out. And
well, on a very fundamental level, you are sitting in a free energy device that you can't buy. This body is creating energy all the time, you know, and the thing is, we're not grounding it. We're not being the conduit for that energy. We're not part of nature as we used to be. So this is where, you know, a lot of this these problems are, because we've got this energy just buzzing around us. And one of the things we find with the Shungite is when we're using the Shungite, it's able to get that energy so it's not got its feathers ruffled against the EMFs made by mobile phone signals, your Wi-Fi, your electricity. So it's all back in line with nature. The quality of the information is not harming you, but also that extra energy, especially when we use the little pyramids around the body, it really does seem to pull off that excess energy. So powerful little thing, that Shungite. Little pyramid, that's the one. Yeah. So just pointing it at yourself, and then moving it clockwise. And quite often people will feel in their hand this excess energy actually coming through the pyramid and hitting their palm. So it's like pulling it off.
Like this?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. If you've got aches and pains or somewhere in the body that needs a bit of attention, the whole point about pyramids, here, I'll just pick this one up here. Oh, it's a bit bigger.
Whoa. It's a bit bigger.
It's a bit bigger, but the whole
Just around.
point.
This is as big as that one. Mine's bigger.
No! The whole point about the pyramid is the point.
Yeah.
So it's really focusing all of that energy right to that sharp point to be able to really boost it into the body.
This is a Shungite kind of mix there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, or the whole black layer. Yeah.
One of the things I like to say though about grounding in particular, when I was researching it a way long time ago through the Rex research stuff, it was it came through. It was a farmer, a doctor who dealt with farmers basically, and his son. He was called out one day because they were having quite a lot of cot deaths problems. So, but his son had noticed that the chickens in the farm that were on a mesh that was connected to the floor produced more chickens than the chickens that weren't connected to the floor, basically. So they basically started connecting the cot of the children to the water pipes, basically. Because the child needs a connection to the ground when it's born. And this is one of the problems we're having in the hospitals as well. There's totally disconnected from the Mother Earth itself once they're born. So it's
yeah. I've got a kind of grounding sheet on my bed. So you plug that in, it's not, you don't have it on or off, it's just straight into the earth. But yeah, I'll make a point of going out in the garden in the morning in my bare feet. I do some basic, I forget what it's called, some basic moves. What's it called? That Chinese?
Tai Chi.
Or,
no, that's Qigong. That's it. Yeah, Qigong.
The best one.
Yeah, my version of it. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I always tell people, well, not tell people to do, but say you might want to consider it, is what the Muslims do. Stick your head on the floor. It's brilliant. Stick your head on the floor. And they do it 3 times perfect. And because it's like basically your third eye, and you can envisage the massive big cord connection to the middle of Earth with it as well, and send all your worries and troubles down it, you know? It's really good.
Yeah. Right, I'll try that then.
So I'll just bring up this picture.
No, it's gone.
Oh, it's gone. Right. Well, we're managing little bite-sized bits. Little segments, like orange. You've got some cold oranges in the fridge here.
Cold oranges?
Yeah, we put them oranges in the fridge.
Did we?
Okay, well, I'm back. I've switched off the VPN. That could have had a factor. Quickly, Rich, we'll try and do it properly another time, maybe. But we'll. Do you go to Carry On Camping at all?
We are going to be there in August.
Brilliant. Yes. Okay, I'll definitely be there. Yeah, that would be good. Yeah. And the other thing was, we've got people who are. We've got this incident where we've got a couple of people in court, and I've been going through the process of going private, following Peter Wilson. So I've sent these 7 letters to these 7 people saying, if you don't acknowledge that I'm a living person, then I'll accept that I will take your silence as consent that they accept. Anyway, I'm going through this whole process, and also
we've done something similar.
It's I think your story, Richard, really brings home the power of understanding that we are sovereign, we are living, and we can express it, and it does work.
If I can butt in just for a bit and see, it doesn't. It's not to do with bits of paper and all that kind of stuff. When you come back down to being what you truly are, we like to do all this paperwork because it's like trying to exercise as muscle kind of thing on, well, this is who I think I'm, you think I'm somebody else, so I'm trying to tell you this is the truth. But there's a difference between that and then living it from within you, because you don't have to send one piece of paper out to anybody to be sovereign, because you already are.
But in a court of law, how do you express that
Well,
when you're standing up in?
I'd not done put all these pieces of paper and all that kind of stuff when I was dragged up in front of them. And the way I navigated myself around it was purely the fact that I walked out the courtroom at one point. I'd not sat down, and the judge was saying, "Do you want this to go to your jury, or do you want this to?" It's just a small case of to do with my children and ex-wife, kind of mother of my children. It's nothing. There's no criminality in it, and it's a family court anyway. So anything that anybody said was not sworn under oath anyway. So you could just stand up there and talk a lot of gobbledygook, as far as I'm concerned. But so the thing is, I went in there, didn't sit down, wouldn't agree to whichever court they wanted to go in, and by the end of it, I was like, I've had enough, and I walked out. And I don't recommend following this line of thinking, because it was very much everybody has to do their own thing that's right for them. So I walked out the courtroom, and then on the court tannoy said there's going to be an arrest warrant issued for the gentleman known as what we're trying to tell you. Yeah. So I stopped, and then also noticed the usher or whatever. This guy said to the usher, "What shall I do now?" And the usher said, "Don't leave until he leaves the court building." So then I realized they're shadowing me. There's much more to their shadowing and dark arts than we quite understand. So I realized that my shadow that they were projecting was always in the courtroom, and he'd actually exited the courtroom as well as I had. So I thought, brilliant! I know the state of play, so all I have to do now is walk back into the courtroom. So I walked back into the courtroom and sat down. The the solicitor then looked towards the judge as if said, "Shit, he's back. What should I do now?" And the judge just went like that to just carry on. So they carried on doing this case that was supposed to be something to do with me. But I'd walked back into the courtroom, sat down, and didn't say a word until the whole proceeding finished. With the judge saying every so often, "Would the gentleman because I wouldn't admit to the name, I only admit to the gentleman formerly known as Richard, blah, 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 blah." So, would the gentleman known as that would like to say anything? So I was like, I ain't saying a word here because she's not talking to me. And then she got to the end to sum up the case. And this is how evil the whole thing was. It was a £15 administration cost for the case, and not to see the mother of my children for the rest of my life. Brilliant. Thank God for that. Anyway, different story. So that's what they discovered. They decided, and I didn't say a word, and it finished. And then I walked out the courtroom. Excellent. I've now won. Because on the courtroom door, as you walk in, there's four things you have to do. Don't take photographs in a courtroom. Don't eat Kentucky or something. Number 3, whatever. But number 4 is every time you enter the courtroom, they have to reassert who you are. So I'd walked out with them, not me playing the part of being that straw man. I'd walked out, walked back in, lost the straw man because the shadow was outside. Remember, the gentleman that was shadowing me with the clerk was outside. So I walked back into the courtroom, sat down, and the judge took the role of the beneficiary, as far as I'm concerned. And I didn't say a word after that. Now, this is where the sovereignty bit comes in. So I'm sat outside the courtroom waiting. Me and Cassie are waiting outside the courtroom for the court order, whatever, because I didn't give them an address. There was no anyway, no fixed address for them to use. So I waited outside, and the clerk come out shaking, going, "Whoever you are, here it is." And then, yeah, Cassie said,
I'd have to say I've never seen anyone with fear, true fear in their eyes as they had when they looked at us that day. There was fear in that clerk's eyes, and he was literally shaking with fear. And all we had done is just be pedants. we
Yeah.
had been pedants, and I when they'd asked me my name outside the court, I said, "Well, you can call me Jane Doe."
Yeah.
It was as simple as that.
and that was the judge shouting through the courtroom to the doors while Cassie sat outside across the way, shouting across the room. So we were kind of playing them on all sides, and it did their head in. I took a priest with me.
I mean, just
I took a priest and a former Mr. Universe as well. Massive. He was he's got belts and everything. So I was covering angles.
It wasn't Eddie Elwood, was it, by any chance?
No.
No.
So just to add a bit, that morning, as we'd arrived at the court and all this kind of thing, I'd been asking the clerk to ask the judge if it was a court de jure or a court de facto, and then they were not coming back, and that was taking ages and ages and ages, and then they were like, "Look, we've got to get this started." And I said, "Well, we can't cross the threshold until we know which jurisdiction it is." And then the judge, the judge, she was shouting across the courtroom, saying, "I don't have shouting in my courtroom." I said, "Well, I'm not trying to shout. It's just you're very far away, and we've been asking this question for your clerks to ask you, and there's nothing coming back." And it was just that kind of all that beginning stuff that kind of seemed to put the willies up them a bit.
It rattled them.
They did rattle them, because then when you went in and they were trying to get you to say that, agree to the name, and you were just saying, what was that bit you said about the being sovereign, that you would?
Yeah. I said something about sovereignty, and the judge said, "Oh, you think you're a sovereign, do you?" And I said, "Well, I'm a sovereign of my internal kingdom. Only a fool would be a sovereign out here." And that's the thing that we need to understand is what's going off internally. That's we are the tiny little sliver between the other world and this world. We are the gateway which stuff comes in. We are, we're like the divine spark.
The living thing.
I have to say to people, what's the most sophisticated bit of machinery in the entire universe? And people, the brain, or big computer or something. And it's us. We are the most sophisticated. We're inside the most sophisticated bit of machinery in the entire universe, and we take it for bloody granted. You know what I mean? I'd like to see the manual before we came down here. It basically it breathes automatically.
Yeah.
When it needs water every now and then, but don't worry, it comes from the sky. It needs food that comes from the ground. It's all there for us, but we're just living in poverty.
I've heard this thing. It was said by I think it was Aldous Huxley in one of his books, Windows to Perception, that we're actually, all these organs that we've got, our eyes, our taste, our senses, our brain and everything, is actually filtering out all of the reality, because in order so that we can function and survive on this earth, on this planet. It's actually more to reality than so we have to be limited to survive in this, but
and that's sometimes what happens when people have the Kundalini awakening thing, is that they see everything comes right in front of your face, you know what I mean? You can't get away from all these things, and that's why people have a kind of a crazy time for that, but
that's I'd like to do that sometime. I think it's on my bucket list. things
Can
to
I
do.
add a little bit about the pedantry?
Yeah.
Because I think this when people are kind of worried about going in front of the judge, and this kind of thing, the thing about those courts is they can only allow facts to be presented in court. Yeah, you can't have hearsay, you can't have rumors, you can't make stuff up. And that's the whole point, is it's about the facts. And so the fact about the name, the fact about the address, I'll just start with the address, is, in the morning, Rich puts his dress on. So his dress today happens to be a t-shirt and trousers, but dress is the word for it.
Right.
And so when someone
You
says,
just put on a frock or something like
yeah,
that.
he doesn't put on a
No.
frock, but he puts on his dress
Dress, yeah.
because it's called, uniform is called dress.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when someone says, what's your address?
Yeah.
You're adding dress to where you live. And I live in here. So if they're talking about some bricks and mortar
Right. Yes.
somewhere
Yes.
else, and I'm talking to you here now, how can I be living over there in that bricks and mortar over there when I'm here right now? I can't be in two places at once.
Yes. Right. They're just using word magic to try and get the identification of that straw man.
Yes.
Of
Word association. But the true fact of the matter is, I can't live in that brick building.
Yeah.
With the front door and the numbers on it. I can't live in that.
No.
I can only reside in this skin body here. So this is what I add dress to when I get up in the morning. And so
that's
a fact. That's a fact.
Fact, yeah.
It's a fact.
Just something else I heard today yesterday was the dwelling where we occupy. It's a dwelling, and we occupy it. But if you acknowledge that you're a resident, right, you're a taxpayer, right.
Yeah.
So that's another bit of word sort of thing. You should never.
And so this is, when we're thinking about going into these courtrooms, which are churches, which are black magic, the only thing that we can say can be a fact. Then how can you possibly be worried? Because actually all you're going to say is true. Yeah. My parents called me Cassandra. They didn't name me. They told me a birth date which I am unaware of. I was not aware of the principles or things of dates. So I can only say allegedly. Yeah. And if you ask me about my address, the only thing I can do is point to myself and go, well, I live in here. That's it. Those are the three facts that they are trying to trick you into saying other things.
Yeah. Another thing they do in these courts is they do all this ritual. They've got the coats, the gowns, the procedures, all this kind of Masonic things. And
it's religious,
it's very intimidating. I wanted to ask a question at my local council once, and they were swearing in a new mayor and everything, and it was all very intimidating. And I thought I had to water down what I was going to say because I was in fear. It was just so intimidating.
So this is Shungite in action. Can you still hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So the lady with the green electrical field had never had Shungite before. And then we got her photographed an hour later, and her whole electrical field has transformed to orange. So that's an instant transformation. So we're talking about grounding, we're talking about fear, we're talking about, what frequency we are emitting and carrying with us into these places. And so what we find with Shungite is it's like, here's a fullerene. You imagine being in that bubble, and that bubble is its highest frequency. So Shungite is spinning at 20 to 30 billion times a second, the energy that comes out of Shungite. It's spinning your energy frequency up to that speed and putting that out there. So that's the highest frequency you can be. So therefore, the law of resonance means that the lower frequencies have to rise up. So we're going into these places with the armor of God. Here we have the color, the change in frequency, the armor of God, the frequency that's actually grounding us to the ley line grid. So we are actually transmuting the energy and getting the insights in the moment directly from the quantum field. So you've got your best friend with you, which is the quantum field infusing your energy field. So this is where you can put yourself in this time bubble and get the instant information that you require to help you deliver what it is you're there to do. And that's how we work with Shungite.
There's a reason why I ended up in the courtrooms. Twice as well. It's the first time I was arrested for sending a letter to say I want to see my children. The copper tipped up to the house. I did all the usual stuff, look out the window and stuff. And it's like, oh, we want to interview about this thing. So I was like, all right, fair enough. I'll come down. So he gets me in the car. He said, so what's your name? So it's like, all right, then, yeah, we'll do this, What's your date of birth? And I'm like, well, apparently it's such and such because I can't vouch for it. So it's like, oh, fair enough. And he said, did you send this letter to your ex 3 days ago? And I said, well, it was a couple of rotations ago. Because I'm not even recognizing their calendar.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as you stop recognizing anything of theirs, then they ask you a question, they're in control. So you've got to ask them the question. It's like, it's as simple as, what's your name? I'll accept that.
Yeah.
Just call me from now on, call me what?
Yeah.
It's a simple.
You're not engaging at all. You just.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I can't really say anything about going into courtrooms and pissing about. That's going into snake pit. Let's face it. It's going into snake pit and trying to tiptoe around loads of stuff and not get bit.
Yeah.
And you're in their game. It's their courtroom. It's their house. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's a nightmare. I don't want to go anywhere near it. No, I don't want what to do with them, and that's why reasoning for moving into sovereignty, moving into private, and all that kind of stuff. But let the dead bury the dead, as far as I'm concerned with that system.
Yeah.
But in some ways, we do need the name, though. What we're going to do with a mass murderer or a paedophiles and stuff like that.
Well, there's the common law to deal with that. Yeah. And remedy and we just don't need it. Do you think it's all collapsing anyway? Because it seems to be that all of these leaders of countries that have signed up to the World Economic Forum, they've all seemed to have lost their leaders over the last few weeks. Ceylon, Sri Lanka.
Boris is gone.
Boris is gone. Yeah.
It can sound a bit like blasé about it all, but it's like for us at the moment, and we're just watching it play out now. We've been at this game since 2008. I woke up when I had near-death experience and all that kind of stuff, and it's I've been waiting for this for years, and it feels like this is the year that this scuppered. They are so up shit creek, it's unbelievable.
But strange things are going on, and I don't rule out anything. I had a call this morning from this guy called Mark Whitechall. Someone had given me my number, and he wants to come and talk next week. I think it's next Wednesday. I'm going to do a chat with him, and he gave a really good talk at Airbox at Cramlington last Thursday, because there's a big gathering there if ever you're up in the northeast. Number one, come to our farm, Down to Earth Farm, and number two, go to Airbox Thursday night, because there's some good speakers there. And this guy, Mark Whitchell, he's absolutely he firmly believes that there's a case that is going to with the HSBC that is going to expose the whole mortgage fraud thing, right? He believes it's a big case and it's going to open the doors to everything. And I was saying yes, but you know, you might say that, but we know the mass media won't buy it. And he says, oh yes, but once they start seeing their neighbours getting all their mortgage back, they'll soon start. It'll, you know. So wow. So I'll find out a bit more about that next Wednesday, and then I'm working towards getting the Porcupine open again with our regular Wednesday night speakers, and maybe you could come up and speak there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fun.
Yeah, we do love interacting with people with the Shungite, because the Shungite energy is actually so powerful that most people actually can feel it in their hands.
Yeah.
So, you were there on the day, and you guys, and you were telling me the next day that evening you'd had such a laugh, profound lightning of your experience.
Yeah, everybody was in hysterics laughing at. It might have been something to do with these cookies that Dawn made, but it was. I think it was really good.
They were expanded to the fullest, then, weren't they? Really?
Yeah. It was quite a thing. Right, I'm really glad we've managed to get a few more minutes without getting cut out. So let's call it a day while it's going good.
Yes.
And
can I give it a quick plug for our website? Would that be okay?
Please, yeah.
So our website is orifimshungite.com.
Yeah.
There it is. Yep.
Yeah.
If you turn that card round, it'll give you the discount code.
Yeah.
So there it is. Easy Earthers is your discount code for 10% off, and we'd love to pop us a little note on the checkout to say that you've heard us on here, and we'll put you in an extra little special gift as well.
Excellent. Yeah, I've got it on all my water bottles as well. So
the toggles,
very, very powerful. Okay, thanks, Cass. Thanks, Richard. We'll catch up with you again soon.
Yes,
I'll let you check out now. Yeah.
Okay, bro.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
God bless.
Bye. Good night.